Hey folks, Twisha Christian here. Today, I'm going to bring you some prophetic words from Brandi. The YouTube channel is Bran P. That confirms a lot of what the other prophets and dreamers and seers have been saying. And in this video, you're going to hear things about hyperinflation. You're going to hear about everything being zeroed out. You're going to hear words concerning what's going to happen with the grocery stores. You're going to hear some things about the Bitcoin crash. But you're also going to hear about what's going to happen at the end of all this. Because that's one of the things that we've been sharing. That even though things are going to be bad when things seem at their worst, for a lot of us, for those of us who are in position and we are listening, we're not going to be the ones in that position, but we're going to be the ones helping a lot of other people. And you're going to hear that. And then we're going to have another confirmation on the Bitcoin crash. A lot of people have shared about this, folks. Many different people that we have featured on here have been talking about Bitcoin going to zero. Christopher Harris, Dr. Maria Conwell, even Prophet Robin, Prophet Solomon. She saw Bitcoin and other Bitcoins and the whole entire industry basically in ashes, right? Even though it wasn't a number, it goes to show again that we're going to be experiencing these things when it comes to this. And if you're just listening, you're not paying attention, you guys are going to miss out on some of the wealth transfer. Some of you are just waiting on the dinar, and here we have right here a part of the wealth transfer that's getting ready to happen. These things are getting ready to take place. I believe that so far we have identified 4 different Bitcoin flash crashes now that are going to take place. That means that you have 4 opportunities with Bitcoin to become wealthy. And I believe that we are coming upon that time. Listening to some of the prophetic words as far as time frame, we are looking things to really start moving here shortly. And we've heard about the waves, and we've already experienced a pullback since we've heard those prophetic words. And this is where the great wealth transfer when it comes to the cryptocurrency industry happens, is that when we do get to that point where everything is crashing, and many cryptocurrencies are either going to be under $1 or just pennies. And then when you listen to some of these prophetic words, like you look at Christopher Harris, is basically saying the same thing as Prophet Solomon, that we're going to be that these coins are going to be taking off, one at a time, and that we're going to be able to invest in all of these. And then we have the prophetic dream with the bucket and the money being poured down into Shiba Inu, into XRP, into all these other cryptocurrencies. There's going to be a massive wealth transfer that's going to take place. And if you're not paying attention and you're more worried about, what somebody's personal beliefs are, you're going to miss out. It's just like Prophet Solomon talked about the Jasmine coin way back in that video where she gave her prophetic vision of some of these coins that she saw. And even if you just took action around that time and bought some, it was around 1 cent around the time that she had mentioned that, and you would have tripled your money. And currently it's at 0.04419. So we have to pay attention. You also have to know when to let go. If you're trying to be a part of the wealth transfer, there will be a time to sell. And that's any stock, any investment, in order for you to be able to use those funds. So what we do on this channel, we present dreams, visions, prophetic words, and not all of them always come from somebody who's a Christian, or we don't even know if they are or not. And a lot of them, we don't know their personal beliefs. And so what I try to do is try to put together prophetic pieces to the puzzle. And trust me, there's a lot of dreams and visions that people have that I thought about presenting, especially there's a lot of them that has had time frames attached to them, and they never came to pass. And so I am selective in what I do share and show you guys. According to these different prophetic words we're getting, we just need to make sure that we do have enough food and that we're doing what we can to fight inflation at this point, and then put yourselves in a position in these different wealth transfers that are taking place. And so these prophetic words give you the opportunity to put yourself into a position to where you don't have to worry for yourself and for your family and for your loved ones. But in the end of all these things, we know that all these things are going to work out. So there's nothing to fear, right? As long as you are preparing yourself. Speaking to a world audience, there's a lot of people outside of the United States and Canada that need to hear what's going on, because not everybody is in a fortunate position. And if they know these things are going to be happening to the United States, then more than likely it's going to be happening, or it's already happening all around the world. The food shortages are getting worse. And it's not anything about fear, but if you put yourself in a position, then that's not something that you have to so much worry about. But some of the prophetic words on here that I have shared deal with other countries, and Christians live in those countries, and they need to hear what the prophets and the dreamers and the seers are saying so that they can put themselves into position as well. I get emails from people all over the world that are just coming into the wealth transfer, and they've never traded cryptocurrency. They need help trying to find a trading platform in their own country. So I just want people to have this mindset that we're just trying to put the pieces together concerning the wealth transfer and concerning certain things that may have a great effect on you wherever you live. But in the end of all these things, folks, it's all going to work out. We just have to get to that point where hope is restored to the world. For us, we know that there is, but for a lot of people, they're not going to have that hope. And they're going to think that it is over. And people are going to be considering even taking themselves out. It's going to be that bad, especially in a lot of different places around the world. So this is not a joke. So if somebody can hear these prophetic messages, it could be saving somebody's life, because they might be at a point where things are so bad, what's the point of even living anymore? Even taking this wealth transfer even more seriously. It's one of the reasons why I'm thinking of even changing the name, because we're moving into another realm right now. And moving into that realm, things change. Even as God changes the name of his people, sometimes we have to make our changes in order to meet the need of what God is trying to do. The YouTube is Brand P. And this video came out on January 25th of 2022. This was one of the videos that I couldn't get to because my dad was in the hospital, so I'm just now able to get to it. But this is XRP, the economy, US dollar, Jubilee, and what I've seen in dreams. So you hear a lot of the things that I did mention in the beginning in this video. So stay safe and God bless.
Hey everyone, okay. So I told you guys last night that I would put together a little video today of the economic things that I have seen in my dream state. So some of these things you will have heard before, and some of them will probably be new that I've not shared them completely publicly. If you're a close friend of mine, then you've probably heard these things because I always take them to trusted advisors and to other people that I know for discernment and to walk with, because I always say you walk with the tribe, people who are like-minded in things like you, and you share these things, you pray about them together, you look at them together, you research them together. And 5 years ago, basically, is where this part of my story starts, is that I started having dreams about the economy. Now, at that time, inflation, why would I look inflation up? We live in America. We don't have inflation here. Hyperinflation, why am I having dreams about hyperinflation and people standing outside these grocery stores in these huge long lines and people are being given like apples and bread and thing? And I'm like, that's just so symbolic. And then I had a dream. The very first one was actually, it was in December of 2018. And President Trump was actually kind of one of the key characters in that dream. Now, you have to realize too, if you're someone who dreams, you know that they're symbols. There are things that are absolutely literal, and then there's things that are metaphysical, supernatural, spiritual, emotional, and so you have to discern. But usually in that dream, like you're going to come out of it knowing exactly what things meant to you, and sometimes you kind of have to pray about them, press into them, and ask more questions. So in the dreams that I was having with President Trump, he symbolized his actual literal self, but then he also symbolized like a king, because that was what he was in America. He was the president. He was the king residing over our nation. And so in that dream, the very first one I had, it was about a complete financial collapse of our dollar here in America. And this reporter had basically sat me in front of a computer screen. He was going to try to pull up all of these things. He was like, well, let's just see how much you owe, for your student loan. Let's see how much you owe for your mortgage. Let's see how much you owe on a credit card. Let me see how much you owe for your, just like other random bills. And every time he would type in my name, he was just like going crazy on this keyboard. Every time he would type it in, every balance would come up with zero. Everything had been zeroed out. And he kept saying, no, that can't be true. That can't be true. This can't be right. And so he would look at his name. everything zeroed out. He looked up his mom's name, zeroed out. Everything was zeroed out. And that began a long download in word that I was receiving about a Jubilee, that things were going to be uprooted in order to be replanted, that things were going to come, just the system needed to collapse in order to be built back up. But it was going to cause a little bit of chaos in that, because people were going to be fearful and scared and worry and thinking that they were losing something when actually they were going to be gaining a whole lot from it. So that led me down that. And then I began to have dreams. This is over a 5-year period. Many of these were multiple times I had dreamed the same thing, especially if I just wouldn't pay attention to them. And then I would have another dream, pay attention to this. I was having dreams about inflation, hyperinflation. I would see charts and graphs, and I would see like the dollar go and fall down, and I would wake up. Some of them I would see hyperinflation, where people would be standing, basically what you would see in a movie. This is probably why it was shown to me this way, because I would understand what that meant. People were standing around in bread lines, and they were being given apples and bread because people couldn't afford the things in the grocery store. And so there were groups of people who could afford it, who had bought up a bunch of stuff. They kind of had a storehouse because they knew it was coming and had prepared for it, so that they could give back to their communities and the people that needed help during that time. Then I was seeing dreams with cryptocurrencies. I did not understand cryptocurrencies or digital assets or anything like that at the time. And one specific coin I started having dreams about. Now, granted, I want to make this very clear. I did not have any cryptocurrencies at this time. I had never researched them. I wasn't looking at them. I did not know what Bitcoin was, and I had never, it took me a while to understand what those things were, is what I'm trying to say. So I had no prior knowledge of this. Okay, I was shown this chart, and it had all of these names and all of these coins listed on it. And the very first one was Bitcoin. And Bitcoin, it had this, have you ever gone to, or seen like when you pull the lever and it like spins with all the numbers going on it, like at a casino, I can't think of what that's called. Anyway, the slot machine, and how it will spin. Okay, so someone had pulled a lever and it said Bitcoin across it, and it went 0, 0, 0, 0. And then there was another coin that came down, and it was 777. And that was the first dream that I had about it, and that was actually XRP. So I'm going, what's Bitcoin and what in the world is XRP? Fast forward, start doing some research, understand kind of what digital assets are, cryptocurrencies are, what does it mean to have a ledger, how do these align, how are these going to be computerized, how is this actually money? And over the course of about 1.5 years, I had multiple dreams all around the same thing, that Bitcoin was going to be very profitable for a lot of people, but there would come a time when Bitcoin would go to 0, or it was just actually, 2 of the dreams specifically, I woke up and I was looking at the ledgers online and looking at the charts in some of the apps, and it was just completely gone, like it wasn't there anymore. And so the download that I was getting is there will come a time when many of these will be dissolved, not just Bitcoin, but others, because they are not asset backed. And that was one of the main things that I was getting in all of this transition period, is that we are going back into the gold standard. We are going back to have asset-backed currencies, because right now our fiat system is not backed by anything. It's monopoly money. If you want to really understand it, go play Monopoly, read the rules to Monopoly, the board game. Go do some research about how the central banks ever got started and how they're set up now, and you're going to go, oh my gosh, wow, look at the tax system. In the dream that I had with President Trump, there were no more taxes. Our tax system was completely abolished. Now, it didn't all go away in one swift swoop in the dream. There were things that were taken away, and then more taxes were taken away, and more taxes were taken away. And if you kind of go down that path and start researching, how could that be? Our taxes pay for things right now, and start looking at, could we survive as a nation without the taxes? Mm-hmm. Yes, you could. And there's a lot of things, just like, for instance, the gas tax. When you go and get a gallon of gas, every single time that you get a gallon of gas, that goes into our roads and our highways and our infrastructure system. Every single time you get a gallon of gas, there's a tax on that. So there is money that is set aside for certain things, but we have a lot of big government spending on things that we probably just don't really need. And if you start looking at where those things are going, probably make a lot of people very upset, because we just don't ask questions where we should be asking questions. And so I was just taken down this path of, this is going to be a huge transition. It might even feel like a cycle and a pattern that's going to start repeating, because there's going to be a lot of stuff with the stock market. It's been very manipulated for a very long time. And when you start messing with people's money and their pocketbook, a lot of people freak out. I mean, that's your livelihood here, because we are still in a system where you have to use money for your everyday necessities. That's just how our society is run. And the stock market, I would pay very close attention to it. I don't want to say that I have seen it completely crash. I have seen it completely go down. And it was almost like it changed into a new system. Like people were given an opportunity to liquidate some things, to sell off some things before it completely just shut down and changed. But it morphed into a new system that was a lot better. I'll just use that. It was a lot better than what we actually have right now. And some of the manipulation and the control around those things were completely redesigned. And in it, there was a lot of chaos. I saw a lot of things in our nation, from riots to people burning things to kind of like the 1929 crash, and we saw a lot of people take their lives. And it was almost as if people were replaying the past and trying to live in the past, but yet they were supposed to be looking straight forward of going, wait, this isn't that time. And we're being given an opportunity to move forward, to see the mistakes that we made. So we started repeating those again. We're not going to repeat them again this time. And that the people who maybe would like think their whole life was over, were being given a renewed chance. And there was a jubilee that happened. And in that jubilee, everything that had been stolen was given back. And it was given back sevenfold, tenfold, in some cases 100-fold. People who thought that they had lost everything, it was given back to them. And all of the money that had been stolen through certain, I'm just going to use the word taxes because that can apply to many different things. It was given back to the people all over the world. And I can't explain the amount of joy in that dream, because it changed from the chaos that I was seeing in the street to people were so on high and so on joy and love and excitement that their hearts, it was almost like a reconnection with their families, a reconnection with their kids, a reconnection with their job. People started doing things that they were passionate about, not just to go to an 8-to-5 job because I have to, and this is the system that I've been put in, and my kids have to go to school for this amount of time during the day. No, it opened people up to new opportunities, new ways to learn, new ways to do business. And so many people became entrepreneurs during this time. And in the dreams, it was like, I always use the word Main Street. Main Street meaning like the mom and pop shops, not the big corporations, but these huge corporations began to crumble, and the Main Street began to thrive. The mom and pop stores, the entrepreneurs stepped forward, and new technologies came forward. And it was a great time. I don't want to say it was, in my dream it was, but it is going to be a great time for many people. But it's when you're prepared for something, you're less scared about it, or there's no fear in it. And so as I'm telling you these things, if it's invoking any fear or worry or anxiety, or I can't believe she's saying this, what in the world, if it doesn't resonate with you, always, if something doesn't resonate with you, just throw it away. I can only tell you what I saw and what I felt and what has been downloaded to me, and the things that has been shown, and how I have felt to prepare. So that's one of the things that through every bit of it is when you start seeing things though, and now I'm seeing a lot of this start to play out in real life in the news cycle that's outside of my dream time, that you start getting prepared, because when you're prepared, there's no fear and there's no worry. And if you know something's coming, and we're always warned, we're always given warnings of, hey, watch this situation. Hey, watch this scenario. Eyes open. Don't always think here from the logical place, but go here and think from your heart, because this is the place that maybe sometimes that they don't make logical sense up here, but the supernatural is here. And so I'm trying to think if there's anything else in that. There were so many of them. I have them all written down, and I go through them often just to remind myself of the amazing things that are coming. And the humanitarian aid, that was a huge one, was the amount of humanitarian aid that was going to shift and change the nations, where money had been kept, resources had been stolen. Africa was a big one, where some of their resources have been basically stolen, kept on lockdown, but the people of that nation were going to be given back amazing things that's theirs. It's their inheritance. And so the inheritance that had been taken was going to be restored and renewed. There might be some trials and some tribulations. It's going to grow some people's character. We're going to be thrown in the fire. It's what I've been talking about a lot. But do you let the fire refine you, or do you let it destroy you? And so people are going to have a choice. Am I going to let this destroy me, or am I going to let it refine me? And I'm going to make it to the other side and I'll be like, heck yeah, this is an amazing time in history. What an amazing time to be alive. And so if I think about anything else that I didn't add, this is just trying to hit on highlights, and it's already 12 minutes in. I hope that, or if I remember something else, then I'll come back on and tell you guys. But anyway, just pray about it. Ask for wisdom around it. Seek what it is that you need to do. And maybe it's nothing. Some people don't need to do anything, but you've already done what you needed to do. And some people, it might be the first time that they're hearing any of this, and maybe they need to think about some things that they need to do for themselves and their family. Or maybe it's just a knowing that you just needed to hear something that may strike something in you. And maybe you've already received a word. If you have had dreams or visions or downloads, or just something that you feel in your gut or your intuition, share it with me. And maybe we can start talking about some of these things. Okay, so I love you guys. I hope that this lands on your heart well. I hope that you feel the joy and the peace and the excitement of me when I tell you these things, because it doesn't have to be scary and fearful, but it can be an amazing, amazing time to be on this planet.